TV. 'Cause every dog has its day.
Welcome back to Hound TV. Kate, at the top of the show, you promised you would give us some tips about when you've got a new baby coming to the household where you've already got dogs and how to deal with that for the safety and comfort of all concerned.
Yes, so that's really important.
Yeah.
The most important thing when you do find out that you're pregnant, especially if it's your first and you already have dogs, is preparation. So it's extremely important to start preparing early because if you wait until the baby arrives and then you have problems, it's much harder to deal with.
Sure.
So part of the preparation is getting your dog used to the kind of routine that will be in place once the baby arrives.
Okay, so what sort of things would that be?
Well, things like...
Waking up in the middle of the night?
Well, there's that. But, yeah, new mums are very busy. Once they bring baby home, their life just changes. And
just a bit.
Yeah, just a bit. So that can be a really daunting thing for a dog, I guess, that's used to having a certain routine, and then all of a sudden that all changes once the baby arrives. So things like not spending as much time with your dog in the lead up to the baby coming home to get them used to not having your attention as much.
Right.
Also, habituating them to the things that will come along once the baby's arrived. So introducing them to the cot, the pram, change table. So setting up the nursery quite a long time before the baby arrives.
Okay, get that done early.
Yeah, and allow the dog to get used to all those things. You also might want to, I mean, it sounds silly, but carry around a doll that actually looks like a baby.
It's not silly. I do that all the time.
Well, there you go. So that kind of, it gets your dog used to seeing you holding something, walking around.
Different behaviours that your dog's not used to you doing.
Definitely.
Yeah,
and taking your dog for a walk with the pram, so before the baby arrives.
Yep.
So some other things you might want to do as well is desensitise them to the sounds that babies make. So you can play a CD of baby sounds like crying and things like that, or even play a YouTube video of a baby.
Oh, right, okay. I was going to say, are they commercially available, CDs of babies screaming?
They probably are on the internet.
Or otherwise get a friend to record their baby.
Yeah, or you could do that. And to try and build a positive association with everything baby, so sounds and things for the dog. Using treats to reward calm behaviour around.
So you might be playing the baby screaming on YouTube with the volume cranked up, and at the same time you're giving your dog cuddles and treats.
That's right, but you may want to start at quite a low level of sound. So you don't want to have blaring, screaming baby and the dog reacting in a way that you don't want to reward.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess it all depends on your dog. Like if your dog's pretty chilled out anyway, you might turn up and your dog might not even notice. And
of course, that's a really good point. So the way in which a dog will deal with the arrival of a new baby depends a lot on their temperament, personality, their previous experience, all those sorts of things. So I suppose the first thing to consider is what's your dog like around kids? Have they had experience with children before? And how well trained are they? So a well trained dog is going to be much easier to manage once a baby arrives than a dog that's a bit unruly. So if that's the case, that your dog's not well trained and hasn't had much experience with kids, it's something that you're going to need to work on before the baby arrives. When you're introducing a new dog to an existing dog, it's really good if you can do it the first introduction on neutral territory.
Right, so go to the park or...
Yeah, go to a local park or even just down the street. And again, take it gradually. So you want the introduction to go smoothly. And so if the dogs are both really excited and jumping up and carrying on, that's not an ideal time for them to meet.
Okay.
So run through some basic obedience, reward them for calm, obedient behaviour.
Right.
Wait till they're calm before you gradually decrease the distance between them.
And would you normally do that on the lead or off the lead, or depends entirely on the dogs?
Look, it does depend a little bit on the dog. Some dogs are more reactive on lead.
Because they're sort of threatened and they're a bit disempowered, aren't they?
Yeah, I guess. So, I mean, ideally do it on lead and see how you go. And once they've had that initial introduction and it's all gone okay, you would walk them back to the house.
Right.
So from there, it's a matter of introducing the new dog to the different rooms in the house and just continuing to reinforce calm, friendly behaviour when the two animals are together.
Right. Well, your friend Mia has just not long ago had a baby and she's had a couple of dogs for many years.
Yep.
So I'm going to have a little chat with her and ask her how that went for her. Well, Mia is a real-life example of someone who's brought a baby into a house where you already had dogs, right, Mia?
That's right, yeah.
So you've got the two dogs. Tell us about them.
We've got Elkie, who's 10, and Caleb, who's also around about 10. They're both been adopted from a shelter as young dogs, and they've been living with us ever since.
Right, so potentially it could have been quite an adjustment for them having a new family member.
Definitely, they were very much the centre. They were our babies until Freya came along.
Yeah.
And luckily we had friends with children who've been around and visited, so we've had a chance to see how our dogs are with young children.
That's an excellent idea, actually, for people who are in that situation, isn't it? To just get some other babies around to test drive the dogs.
That's right.
And that way, if the dog eats the baby, it's not your baby. But
exactly.
No, kidding. Obviously with great caution, but Okay,
Yeah.
so you had a little preview of what your dogs might be like.
We did, and we got them familiar with things that were going to be around, like the bassinet and the pram, while I was still pregnant, so that they were familiar items around the house.
Okay, so just driving around with the pram and...
Yeah, we got them used to walking with the pram before there was a baby in it. We got some strange looks from the neighbours.
Yeah.
But it was important because it's something that I want to do with both of the dogs, is walk them with Freya in the pram, and we do that.
Excellent. What other things did you do?
When I was still in hospital with Freya, my husband Pete brought home some of Freya's clothes for a couple of days before we came back home.
For them to have a sniff of?
Yeah,
Okay.
And so from that we were able to gauge their reactions, and Caleb, our bigger dog, was very interested and had a really big sniff. Elkie here...
Freya's very interested in the microphone.
was less interested, and she was more just had a quick sniff and then carried on with her day, and that's pretty much their levels of interest with the baby as well. So
Okay, so probably in a lot of cases the dogs really won't be that interested, but you need to kind of act as if... worst case, they are going to be extremely interested and kind of work with that scenario, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I guess the other thing that we really did is that we haven't changed our routine with the dogs. So we set up a routine while I was pregnant in terms of their feeding and their exercise that we can maintain now, so that there's no big differences. They're obviously still inside dogs, and we still let them on the furniture and things like that, so there haven't been big changes to their lifestyle. I think sometimes people, might get nervous and put their dogs outside, which is obviously a big adjustment if the dogs have been used to living inside.
Sure. Then they'll be jilted in favour of the baby.
And we found that just keeping things the same has kept things fairly relaxed for us, and they've been able to, get along really well.
So when you've got Freya close to hand, obviously that's pretty easy to manage. How do you deal with when you need to put her down?
We've set up some dog exclusion zones or some safe areas for Freya to be where the dogs can't get, not because we think they'll intentionally hurt her, but they do get excited and, run through the house.
They're a lot bigger and stronger.
They might bowl her over.
Yeah.
So we've set up a playpen out in our main living area, and we've also installed toddler gates on their bedroom doors so that the dogs can't go into the bedroom, so that way she can have her tummy time and roll around on the floor safely.
Is there anything that you would have done differently? It sounds like it's gone pretty smoothly.
I think just being prepared, and I think when you're pregnant, you don't realise how quickly your pregnancy will pass, and so you might tend to put things off.
Right.
But I think once you know you're pregnant, then start adjusting your pets in anticipation of the baby that comes, because once the baby comes, you'll be pretty busy.
Yeah. And I guess when people are waiting for the baby to arrive, often they're focused on things like getting a room ready, buying large boxes of nappies, buying furniture for the room and stuff like that, and it's something that you could overlook. So.
Absolutely. It's easy to put off till later, but later comes really quickly.
Cool. Well, good luck as she grows up with her two little friends. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that a beautiful thing?
Just grabbing a handful.
You've also brought this book, which has got some more tips. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so this is a book that I think I just found it on the internet. It's written by Kathy Capellas-McLeod. She's an Australian animal behaviourist.
Okay.
And it's got some really good tips in there about how to introduce your baby to your dog.
Okay, so that's available online. So we'll have a link to that. We'll have a link to your info if people want to get in touch with you. All of that is at the Hound TV website, the usual place, www.houndtv.com. Book. He's going for the squeaker. He wants to find the squeaker.